You are listening to the Political Periscope, a weekly podcast brought to you by Radio WNET. Interviews on international politics, security, geopolitics, economy, and more. Every Thursday at 7 p.m.
Today's guest of the Political Periscope is Čedomir Stojković, Serbian lawyer and the president of the October Group.
Political Periscope.
When we think Serbia, we quite often think pro-Russian stance, pro-Russian anti-American position. We think about maybe some obstacle in integration of Western Balkans. Is it a true image?
Very true. Unfortunately, it is literally like you described. The Serbia is under influence of Russian Federation for many years. Literally, as Russia lost influence in the East Europe, for example, in Poland, Lithuania, Czech, Slovakia, it increased influence in Serbia. And in Serbia, Russia found much more fruitful ground for its influence because there was a war in the Balkans between nations, and there was NATO interventions, military interventions against regime Slobodan Milošević in Serbia in 1999. So basically, you have painful wounds from the past in the Balkans, and you have fear, and you have some kind of hate. You had all of this, and then Russia put energy to this. So what was small hate once upon a time became big hate after Russian influence. What was small feel of pain because of NATO intervention in 1999, thanks to the Russian influence and Russia hybrid operation and Russia propaganda, became huge thing in Serbia now. You can see this by one example. People who were born, like me, in the 80s, we know what happened in 1999. We know why it happened. And some of us, have no any kind of emotion about it because we had bad regime, terrible crimes, and the NATO intervention as a consequence. But people who were born in the 19s or just 20 years ago, they have no clue what happened. There was children at the time, the small children, either they wasn't born, but they, thanks to Russian propaganda, feel hate against America, feel hate against NATO because they didn't experience nothing but Russian propaganda.
When I was in Belgrade last year, I experienced this sentiment that, well, you Polish people, you're a bit stupid because you like Americans so much. We are much smarter here in Serbia. But there was no hatred towards Polish people. It was rather pity with some positive sentiment also. That's true. Poland is probably the most pro-American and most anti-Russian country in the world, according to studies. So what do you think? What do Serbs think about Poland?
You need to know one thing. Serbs think about the world through the prism of Russian influence. So Russian influence and Russian propaganda puts Polish people as victims of American influence. The Russian propaganda put Polish people as stupid people because you told Moscow to get back from the East Europe. You were ready to fight for your freedom, and Moscow knows this. And because of this, and you also said no to East values, to dictatorship, to abuse of the human rights, and you embrace the Western values, the human rights, the rule of law, everything what comes with the West, and you became a leader in it. And the Russian influence, or the Russian interest is to portray this as a stupid thing. And they will not put the real picture that you have the very nice economic growth, that you're one of the leader economies in the Europe. They won't say this. They will say that you are just under influence of the USA, and that poor small Polish people cannot defend himself from the American interest. And this is, but you need to put yourself in the mind of the average Serb. Because of everything what happened here in the past, the Serbia is the poor country now. We don't have a strong economy, we have a poor economy. And the Serbs are not, Serbs don't travel to Poland. They cannot experience the life in Poland, how people think, what people feel. There is also no Polish influence in Serbia, but there is a huge Russian influence. So basically, when you speak with Serbian people, you speak with people who are educated by Russian propaganda to think about Polish people as they think now. We speak, of course, about majority. There is also minority. I'm in minority, and I know very well how things works, what happened, why it happened. But majority in Serbia doesn't know this.
When I was speaking with a Polish scientist, a specialist on Western Balkans, Konrad Pawłowski, he told me that it's inevitable for Serbia to integrate with the European Union in the future because, well, economically speaking, it's just a necessity for Serbia because most of the economical exchange is with European Union. Also, the sentiment seems to be shared by Ana Brnabić, your prime minister. She was talking about being de facto part of European Union as Serbia.
Well, let's put this in two topics. So the first topic is the real interest of Serbia, but also the real interest of Europe. Poland is the part of that Europe. And the second topic is what Serbian government do. So the true interest of the people, of course, it is to become the part of EU, and we know that the true interest of the people is to become the member of NATO. Regardless what people think about NATO. If you go in some ghetto somewhere where majority of the people are drug addicts, you will not ask those people, hey, what is in your interest? You know what is in their interest without asking them. In their interest is to not have drug dealer clothes and to not have access to drugs. This is the interest of those people. The same it is in Serbia. Regardless what majority think, because of the Russian propaganda, it is interest of Serbia and the Serbian people to become the part of EU and to become the part of NATO. This is also interest in Europe because the building of EU is not finished until all the countries which was at the time communist countries, became eventually the part of the EU. This is the only guarantee for the lasting peace in Europe. Also, the membering of NATO, it is also the guarantee for the lasting peace in Europe. So you in Poland, you have some of the most terrible experience in the war. For example, the World War II, you were split between Stalin and Hitler. Terrible things. Many people die. Country in terrible state is because those criminals. But regardless that Serbia is small, the Balkan have small nation. Every conflict in Balkan can cause some kind of chain reaction. No matter is this political chain reaction, diplomatic chain reaction, economic chain reaction, or the war chain reaction. So because of this, it is in interest of Europe also to Serbia became part of the EU NATO. But this is the topic about real interest. But when we speak about what government do, we see totally opposite thing. So while you listening to Ana Brnabić as a prime minister of Serbia or other officials in Serbia speaking about EU integration, you will not see that behind that curtain there is huge Russian work in Serbia in the same time. So the Serbian government verbally speaks about integration, but in the ground they allow to Russia Federation to do in Serbia whatever they want. So they can spread the Russia propaganda, they can infect mind of the people, they can do corrupt business, corrupt influence. They allow them to have huge influence on the Serbian university, the Serbian church, the Serbian other fields. So, for me, it is not important what Ana Brnabić saying. It is not important. Is it important what Sergei Lavrov said? What Vladimir Putin said? Those people are not honest politicians. Those people are liars. So we stopped to listening to them because they will not they will not speak the truth. They will speak what they think should be weaponized by the words. So the Russian weaponize topics and put them in the words, and then you're listening to that words, and you shift from your mind from important topic to some idiotic topic that Russia put in the public. The same way, or not the same, but in the similar way, operates the Serbian government. They will put some gentle pro-European Western statements, but on the ground, we have terrible human rights, we have decreasing of human rights, we have increasing cooperation between Russia and between Moscow and Belgrade. We have huge amount of politicians who are under control of the Russia Federation, and we have no one in government who fight this. So we need to stop to listening to the government and to see and measure what is going on the field.
However, there are some leakages, there are some information that Serbia, although the president Vučić denied it, but there is some information that Serbia, for example, sold some arms, some weapons to Ukraine. So is it like this, well, one thing they are saying and another thing they are doing? Is it like the usual thing in Serbia?
Listen, when it comes to Serbian weapon, there is not weapon, there is only ammunition. My policy is that Serbia should give all the weapons to the Ukraine. We were in the wars. Our government made terrible crimes in the war. We do not need those weapons. We need to give that weapons to Ukraine. But when it comes to this topic, listen, Aleksandar Vučić is a student of Moscow. He wasn't literally a student in the Moscow University, but in the political sense, he is the student of Moscow. He knows well how to do the propaganda. He knows well how to reverse things in the opposite way when you compare this to the reality. The same way as the Russian Federation do for decades or centuries. We don't know how many weapons, how many ammunitions from Serbia is in Ukraine. Is it that huge amount of ammunition which actually make a difference, which actually means something, or it is just one truck of ammunition which doesn't mean anything, but is sent there just to deceive the West and say, look, don't be so harsh against me, don't be so harsh against our government. We will send 1 or 2 truck of ammunition, and then you will say, okay, the Serbia have some cooperation with the West. I can tell you very firmly, there is no huge amount of ammunition from Serbia to Ukraine. I can guarantee you this, because if these things, how I know this is not something that is available to me because I'm not in any kind of intelligence agency. So those information are not available for me. Also, there is no any kind of information from the government. But we know if there is some huge amount of ammunition that is produced in Serbia and sent to Ukraine, we will have the very hard reaction of the Russian ambassador in Belgrade and the Moscow government. Is this true? Of course. So if we have some huge export of the weapon to Ukraine, there will be huge reaction from Moscow. So there is no reaction, and by that we know there is no ammunition in big amounts.
You said that Serbia doesn't need any weapons and ammunition because it has already committed crimes.
When I said this, of course, you need to have security forces, and this is. But when I said this, we don't need those Russian tanks. We don't need those Russian planes. We don't need those Russian anti-air missiles. All of this we need to give to Ukraine today. This is my opinion, but this is not opinion of my government.
Of course. But the thing is that the opinion of the government is quite the opposite right now. It is even said that the Serbian government, is preparing to arm Serbia even more because of the tensions with Kosovo. So what do you think should happen with Kosovo?
Well, with Kosovo, fortunately, nothing terrible will happen because the NATO is in Kosovo. And we saw the few times how Americans did a good job in the last 6 months. When Milorad Dodik raised tension in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the 2 B-52 Stratofortress bombing planes of U.S. Air Force flew above Sarajevo and above Banja Luka, just to send the message that they will not tolerate any conflict. Every time when that happened, when tensions arise in Kosovo, U.S. sent aircraft carriers in the Split town and harbor in Croatia, which is just 400 kilometers away through the air from Kosovo. So this is the message. What will happen if Aleksandar Vučić and other pro-Russian politicians in Serbia put fire in Kosovo? What will happen? It will be instantly reaction of the U.S. Air Force and the NATO force on the ground. And that message is very, very clear. And I'm very sure that even stupid politician, because there is no smart politician under influence of Russian Federation, that even they understood this message. But we can expect that this government in Serbia will continue to exploit the topic of Kosovo and to have that some kind of that tension up and down, just to try to show to the world that government is some kind of important factor. And because of that you need to talk with that factor. But what I see is the other trend, and I think this is very important. Unlike previous years, in the recent 6 months, the Europe finally ignored Aleksandar Vučić and tension on Kosovo. So the politician in Europe, as I see, finally understood that when they put attention in those tensions which are created by Aleksandar Vučić, then Aleksandar Vučić said, okay, this works. When I raised attentions, then politicians in Europe pay attention to me. And now the politicians in Europe stop to pay attention. And now I expect that the lesson will be learned here in Belgrade, finally, and that will be like, don't raise tension again, because nobody going to pay attention in that with political way, but will pay attention in the Air Force way, in the army way, in the NATO way, if you put Kosovo into fire.
The topic of Kosovo, those tensions are the main problem in integration of Serbia with European Union. Do you see any solution to this?
Well, I think European Union make big mistake. Kosovo is not the reason why Serbia is slow in the EU integration. Kosovo is just one of the consequences of the Russian influence in Serbia. So when I ask you, what do you think? Will Russia be happy when Ukraine became part of EU? Your answer is no. Would Russia be happy if Ukraine became part of the NATO? So the answer is no. So why anyone in Europe thinks that Russia will be happy if Serbia became members of EU and NATO? Russia will be so unhappy because this is the only country now in Europe where they have such a great influence, and they want to have that to have that influence in the future. This is the reason why they invest so much money and energy to create pro-Russian population here, to create anti-Western public opinion here, to create anti-European public opinion here, and Russia used Kosovo as an example how to show the Serbs what will happen if they became part of the EU, if we became part of the EU and NATO, and that is that we will continue to lose the part of our territory and etc. But reality on the ground is the Kosovo is the sovereign and independent country, and there will be no turning back. There will be no changing in that in either way. So the true interest of Serbia would be that Kosovo became part of the UN, EU, NATO, Council of Europe, Interpol, and all other international organizations. Because if we want to have some influence in Kosovo, I cannot have any influence if that state is not a member of the international organization. Also, if I want to do some influence in Poland, how can I have from Serbia any influence in Poland if Poland is not the member of the same organization as my country? So we make influence one through another, through organization that we are all together member. So that will be the interest of that will be the true interest of Serbia. But Serbs don't understand this because of the huge. You need to understand we have television, medias, newspapers, which have share of 80 to 90% among the population, and they are all under very, very huge control and influence of Russia Federation. So the average mind of Serbs cannot understand that Kosovo should become part of the EU as Serbia should.
What solution do you see for this problem, for this Russian influence in Serbia? What can be done about it?
First, the politician and community in EU must understand how viruses works and how cancer as a disease works. So there is a reason why we use the words Russian malignant influence. This is not just the influence like you have, I don't know, ecological catastrophe in one area, okay, and we will clean that catastrophe, or we will just put some walls around it and everything will be great. No, this is the cancer, this is the malignant, this is the virus. If Europe don't start to fight this in very strategic way, this disease will spread to the other countries. Look, we have the similar thing in the Hungary, right? We have the same things in the part of the Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is called Republika of Srpska. We have also the same thing in the Montenegro, and we have big difficulties in Bulgaria. All of those countries are in some way under Russian influence. So, but Serbia is a leader. So we need to fight this cancer strategically. We need to fight this cancer in organized way, and Europe needs agency, the anti-hybrid agency, which will be which will have a good budget and very good personnel and professionals to fight this influence in Serbia. Like this, I cannot. There is no possibility to convince the Western partner in one simple thing. Listen, guys, we need, for the beginning, the 10 good people in Serbia, which will have salary, which will be paid in the normal way, and which will gather every morning around the table and start to think how to fight this Russian influence. We don't have this in Serbia because everything is connected in Serbia somehow with Russian influence, and we cannot provide money to collect and then to fight. But so we need to search that money in the West, and West need to finance people here who will be on the daily task every day, thinking how to fight Russian propaganda in the university. There is a way. We, in my group, we have a way how to fight this. How to fight Russian propaganda in the street, we have ways to fight it. How to fight Russian propaganda in economy, in the criminal corrupted influence, in energy, in media, in NGO, in many other topics. There is a way. We have a method, and I am sure if we have 10 people who are getting together every morning, the methods will be more and more and more, and there will be success eventually, but cannot be success if you didn't invest in it. Nobody invests in this. I think my firmly belief is that Europe need to invest in two ways. First, Europe need to invest in those countries who was under huge influence, like Serbia, Bulgaria, Hungary. And Europe also need to invest into to build a new agency, the anti-hybrid agency, because, listen, today is Russia, tomorrow will be the China. So we need to have that agency, because one small country, for example, Slovakia, Czech Republic, Serbia, or Bulgaria cannot do anything if FSB from Russia just say, okay, we will pay huge attention now to Slovakia. So what Slovakia could do against a huge intelligence service as FSB is? There is no way to fight this. So Europe needs that kind of agency, and then if Slovakia is under intelligence or hybrid attack from the Moscow, then United Europe in the one agency can fight that influence with a huge resource and huge knowledge. This is what we need.
Thank you very much.
This was the Political Periscope. The podcast is released every Thursday at 7 p.m.